car we've been talking about a good part of today. Somebody has already posted a Craigslist ad, and it is a joke, but it reads, 1970 Dodge Cuda, title status, parts only, obtained from original owner in 2001 from their garage, 4-speed, 6-pack, 440 car, sitting for 13 years, must sell, need to pay storage lien at budget towing, thanks, Lee Sitton. Now, as I said, somebody posted that as a joke. I don't know who, but obviously this situation is not a joke for Mr. Sitton. I think he's got a really tough decision to make. But in some ways, it would be a very easy decision. If you found out that the car sitting in your garage had been stolen from somebody, and it was still stolen property, that issue had never been resolved, even though we're past the statute of limitation for car theft in this case, do you think you would turn the car over to its rightful owner, or would you hang on to it until somebody from the courts or the cops told you had to do it? Let's go to Larry in Forest Grove. Hey, Larry, welcome to the Lars Larson Show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Lars. By the way, thanks for exposing us to Dinesh.
Oh, Dinesh is one of the smartest guys I've ever had the pleasure to have on the show. It's a pleasure to have him on every time. He knows so much about this country, and the irony is he's an immigrant to the country, and yet he knows it better than a lot of people who've lived here their whole lives.
Well, that's what immigrants to this country used to do.
Yeah.
Listen, I want to talk about this stolen car thing. I'm a long-time hot rodder. I've probably and professionally restored cars after I retired from police work. And so the two things come into play here. I noticed when Mr. Sitton was talking, he feigned ignorance when it came to the technicalities of the law and how he came about the car. And yet he espoused all his theory about how he'd been involved in the car world, the classic car world, for so many years.
Yeah.
I find both those really hard to put on a scale and kind of find any balance. Number one, for a while I worked auto theft detail.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you, not just as a car guy, but I can guarantee you if someone would have called through a business number and asked me, I don't want to know the details about this car necessarily, but I have the license plate number for it, and I'd like to know, just to make certain I haven't bought a rotten apple here, is it stolen?
Right.
I'd have told him in a New York minute whether it was stolen or not.
And I'm glad Larry, let me point something out to you. He said, in fact, Lee Sitton just wrote back to me and said, well, there was a glitch at DMV. I don't think it's a glitch. A few years ago, when we talked about a different kind of situation involving a car that had been stolen, the title had been really effectively faked. The person who bought it literally went with the guy he was buying it from to the DMV offices and said, I thought I'd done all my due diligence. We called DMV and said, what's going on? And they said, oh, we don't check to see if it's stolen. And I said, well, don't you have access to a database that would let you do that, the LEDS database or the state police? And they said, well, yeah, we could, but we don't. So, and I thought, what a gap to have in the system to be manipulated by thieves, to know that DMV will tell somebody, oh, yeah, the title on this. So if you have a title, somebody may have created a title, and retitled it in the thief's name. That didn't happen in this case. And the DMV will not tell you if the car is stolen or not because they don't bother to check. Now, you tell me, in this day and age of computers, Larry, how tough would it be for every single title that goes through DMV, if it dings on the hot list, that somebody at DMV would say, hey, I'm sorry, there's a hold on that one. That one's listed as stolen. Now,
well, in essence, you can place flags on cars. It's done all the time.
Yeah, but they don't do it routinely, and they say, well, you should call the state police. I'll bet there isn't one person in 10 in this state that knows that you should call the state police as well as DMV to really check out a car.
Well, cars are, I think, kind of not necessarily in a parallel, but sort of like real property. Well, cars are licensed for two things: one, identification, and one, a proof of ownership.
Well, the one big difference, Larry, very quickly, title insurance, which most people will not buy or sell a house without title insurance and a title search by a title company. There's no such thing in the car world, is there?
That's right, but let me ask you a question, Lars.
Real quick.
Okay. If this man bought this property and he's concerned about being out of his time and his money,
yeah,
then at the outset of when this happened, I'm very involved in the car world. I can tell you this, Mr. Sitton, if he made himself identified, would not be very welcome at the Woodburn Drag Strip, nor at our every Friday morning hot rod get-together around town.
I wouldn't doubt it. You got the Lars Larson Show. Welcome back to the Lars Larson Show. Glad to be with you. John writes in about the stolen car we've been talking about today, and in case you missed that part of the story, I actually made contact with somebody who sent me a message on my Facebook page over the weekend and said, Lars, you should really talk about my friends whose car was stolen 13 years ago. They now know where it is, they know who has it, and they'd like to get it back. But the Portland police have not ordered the man to give the car back to these people. So I got in touch with a couple, Mr. White, Richard White and his wife Jackie, who just celebrated their 40th anniversary. And I said, would you like to come on the show and tell the story? They bought this Barracuda in I should say Mr. White bought the Barracuda in 1970. He and his wife got married in 74. They've had the car for all these years, and in 2001, having raced it and really treasuring a car that they plan to keep forever. It was stolen out of a locked garage in 2001. And, so the bottom line is that the car ended up in the hands of another man. And so we got the other man on, Lee Sitton. And Mr. Sitton says he is not giving the car back until he is ordered to do it. He just wrote back to me and said there are a lot of people misunderstanding things about it. It didn't have a plate on it. He did check on the VIN number. He did ask DMV if it was stolen. DMV, I think to the shame of the people at DMV ought to routinely run titles. When they are run through the process at DMV, they should run the titles so that they find out whether or not they're stolen cars. If you did that on a regular basis, do you think that you might dissuade some of the theft that goes on, where people find a clever way to steal a car, sell a car? You might actually cut down on some of that bad behavior. And how much trouble would it be to have the DMV double check all the titles that come through the office for change of title or new title or replacement title, to have them checked against the Oregon State Police hot sheet? I would think with computers these days, you could just have it, pop those VIN numbers up. When one is stolen and it shows stolen and somebody's trying to do something with the title, then bring that to the attention of the DMV folks and let them hold that title up until it's resolved who actually owns the car. Paul, how do you say your last name? DeJazer? DeJazer. You wrote to me. You're 16 years old, right?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right. You're from St. Helens. Will you tell me what happened at the Columbia County Fair? Because you described it to me in an email, and you wrote it very